Okay, so recording in progress right now, and today is October 17th, 2024, and we are going to have a kind of wonderful workshop about self-esteem. Um, so we move forward about that, and then um, self-esteem or self-respect or the value, putting value on yourself or accepting yourself or understanding your real value regardless of what you do or acknowledging self-acknowledgement or self-compassionate, all of them have kind of interchangeable meaning, and all of them means that once you learn to accept your weakness and your strengths, and once you become able to love yourself the way you are, uh, there are lots of you will be freed up from a cage, and you can find your way to love yourself. And it's the pattern of self-actualization. And this thing is very, very important in clinical settings. I will explain you why it is more important in clinical settings, and then working with children with some kind of special needs or some sort of disability or disorder. And then by doing so, I'm shedding a light on um, how these children are being bombardment, receiving or experiencing some kind of bombardment of negative radiations or feelings in everyday life, when others unwantedly might interact with them in a way that just lower the self-esteem. So children with special needs or the ones who come to clinic for sure are dealing with some kind of difficulties or differences. And the parents try their best to provide some kind of positive attention to them. But most of the time, since these children are not able to fully perform the activities comparable to those of peers, the quality of activities is not similar to those of peers. So what happens is that gradually parents might decide to utilize external motivation or encouragements to motivate the child to do something. And then we say, good job, keep it up, good job, you are a great boy. This one. You see that? You say, good job, you did a great thing, you are a great boy. And once you use them interchangeably, you say, good job, you did a great thing, you play piano very well, you are a great boy. So child keeps listening to these two statements interchangeably, and he feels that if I play piano well, I am a great boy. If I don't play piano well, I'm not still a great boy. So it's kind of the thing that will be will be kind of um, let's say will be cultivated in the child brain, and then it's very hard for children to get rid of that. So there are lots of things that when facing with children with some sort of disability or disorder, we might have kind of issue-based approach in which we feel that we cannot we cannot ignore those weaknesses, and we might feel that the only reason that my child is not accepted in the community or the school or regular classroom is those weird behavior. And once I can fix those weird behavior, my child would be or will be accepted in the community or classroom. That's the reason that we keep paying attention to the issues or the negative thing or the empty half of the glass. And by doing so, once we shed a light on those imperfections, in fact, we are sending the signal to you, to the child, that I wish, I wish you didn't have that empty half of glass. I think society or community can't love you to the fullest until your glass will be full. Full of what? Full of capacity. Full of comparable capacity with those of other peers. And it is the reason that working the self-esteem uh, on children who are suffering from any sort of special needs, or the children who have any sort of special need, is a key. It's very important to send the signal to them, no matter how much you are active, no matter how well you can do the thing, you are still loved. And it's it's a very, very hard process how to maintain a fair balance between teaching, educating, providing constructive feedback, and in the meantime, teaching the children you are enough the way you are. So we move forward, and it's about self-esteem and its definition. If you pay attention to the pyramid of needs, it's a kind of needs pyramid made by Maslow, Abraham Maslow, and the pinnacle of this pyramid is about self-actualization. So the top of the pyramid is the goal of any development, that once we develop to the fullest, we can actualize ourselves. We become a creative person who can do problem solving, is free of judgment, accepting the fact the way it exists, and we are moral people that accept the consequence of our actions. It's about self-actualization. And it's a very, very long journey from meeting and addressing the physiological needs like kind of breathing, food, water, sleep, these stuff, and then safety, which is related to these things, and then love and belonging. And then you will see at the fourth stage, you will see self-esteem, confidence, achievement, respect of others, respect by others. So pay attention to this part. The person who has good self-esteem respect others and receive respect by others. It's very important that the person at the stage of self-esteem, in fact, reaches to some idea of loving himself and others at the same time. It means that in the lower level, maybe some person might feel that if that person is good, for sure I'm not that good. If I am good, that person is bad. As if there is a kind of cake that if I share it with you, I will have less portion of that. But for self-esteem, it's the kind of cake that the more slices you share with others, the more slices you have. So it's a thing. It's a difference between a real self-esteem with the fake one. And self-esteem, as we talked about, is very important. And there are some examples of self-esteem that we can address and talk about. For example, one of them is that the child who has a good self-esteem knows how to say no, knows how to say no. Being assertive and speaking up the needs and talking what you want and what he doesn't want. So the person who has a good self-esteem can occasionally take leadership, can choose friends, can elect friends amongst other people, will not accept any friend or friendship solely because of a few interactions, but choosing and filtering friends. So they might have less number of friends, but more loyal ones, and the ones who are the real ones. Also, the children with good self-esteem can stand against bullying. So they can say, stop it, don't do that. No, no means no. Standing against any bully means that they are not afraid of all their resistance or reactions to others because they do respect their own feeling as well as others' feeling. So they put themselves in the priority and understand that there is no point others in which others are allowed to do anything that makes them sad or unhappy or give a bad feeling to them. Being happy with herself without the need of consistent affirmation is another sign of self-esteem. That if a person is happy with oneself and then uh, doesn't need consistent affirmation or confirmation, it means that just imagine that some people walk and just looking for some confirmation. Mom, are you happy? Mom, did I do a great thing? Mom, am I a good boy? Or the one that knows he is a good boy, knows she is a good girl, and there's nothing to be checked or double checked or triple checked every single second. The other thing is that these people have independence in making idea or idea generation. They can trust their own sense of creativity and they know how to think and they can criticize their own thought and they are not afraid of making mistake. So they are more independent in idea generation. The other thing is that they trust the power of will. They have a will and they trust it as a very important element of intrinsic or internal motivation. So children with high self-esteem don't need lots of encouragement or appraisal, acknowledgement or affirmation or confirmation or say, hey, good job, you do it, or you're happy if you do that, you are a good boy, you are a good girl thing. No, they just feel that I love to do that thing, so I just do it for the sake of its joy. And that's enough. I I enjoy doing that and I do it, and I'm not looking for any acknowledgement or appreciation from others. And also, these children or people volunteer to answer questions or to help others, so they take an active role in the society or community, in the small group. So if you see a child who is always following others and it seems kind of shy or is not able to um, being showing readiness about any activity, or these children for sure might have some weakness in their self-esteem. The other thing is that these children enjoys the journey and the process, not solely the result. So if you see a person who is afraid of mistake, or if you see a person who who is very concerned about the end product or the final result and cannot enjoy the process of doing that. Just imagine that a child is working on a craft and a visual craft, working on some kind of popsicle and pom-pom and making a butterfly. But in the meantime, that child might feel, am I good enough? Is it beautiful enough? Am I going to be the number one in the class? Am I going to receive highest level of appreciation amongst others? Am I going to win that battle? If a person doesn't enjoy the process and solely is concerned about the result, there's another sign of limited self-esteem. And the person who have good self-esteem is fully open to criticism and feedback, because these people, these children, are more inclined to face the fact, more inclined to learn from the feedback, and more ready to improve their abilities based on those feedback, instead of rationalization or bringing up lots of explanation or just justification or those things, okay? So openness to criticism and feedback is another sign of self-esteem. And believe me, in many of the personality disorder among adult people, if you want to see how much a person can be reliable by providing a single constructive feedback to that person and waiting his or her reaction, you can understand how much that person loves himself or herself. If a person loves herself and you provide a constructive feedback, she listens to your feedback and might shrug shoulder, might say, maybe next time, might say, okay, that was a great feedback. I try to use it later. I was good at this and this, and yes, you are right. This one was my fault. Oops, my bad. Okay. And if a person keeps blaming himself, others, the person who is providing feedback, finding some other reasons about, to justify the mistake, cannot forgive himself. That person who is struggling with that feedback and cannot let it go, that person is having some issues in self-esteem. And one of the greatest source or roots of any, let's say, mental health disorder, personality disorder, one of the most important venues of this is vulnerable self-esteem, in fact. So we move forward, and it's about the side effect of self-esteem. Side effect of weakness in self-esteem is that a child who is weak at self-esteem might manifest or show attention-seeking behavior. Yes, many of the children who play silly, who behave in a silly way in front of others to receive more attention, or cannot tolerate to being ignored by others, or yeah, these behavior are a sign of self-esteem issue. The other thing is about bullying incident. Either they take the role of bullying others, or they accept to be the victim of bullying. Either way, these children are at risk of bullying because, in fact, they don't love themselves and they don't love others either. So when you are at a situation that you cannot respect yourself or others, you will be prone to experiencing more number of bullying incidents in your lifespan. The next thing is elopement or hide and seek behavior. Many of the children who are not fully sure if they are being loved, they prefer to hide somewhere and see if others notice at all that they are missing, and how long it takes for the teacher or mom or parents, how long it takes for them to notify and understand or realize they're missing. And by doing so, they just want to seek maximum level of attention from others by being lost, by elopement, or by the behaviors like this. And they might also have anger management issues, because many of them, once making a mistake, they will have two phases of anger. One phase about the mistake, the next phase, which is longer, and it takes longer time, and it's more intensive or intensified, is about why did I make that mistake? Why did I make that mistake? So it means that I should never have made that mistake, because if I make a mistake, I won't be good boy any longer. So I might throw a tantrum once I feel that my values are tightly related to the quality of my performance. And for some reason, if I'm not in a good mood and I make a mistake, I cannot even say, oops, it happens. That thing might change into first, second, third phases of anger that are uncontrollably. I cannot manage my feeling, and then everything will be out of my control. And it's about anger management issue. And the last thing is about limited tolerance of failure or limited openness to constructive feedback, as I mentioned earlier. So the child who is a bad loser, yeah? Some children are good losers, some are bad losers. The ones who hate losing a game. Just imagine that anyway, in some competitive game like music culture, one child might win and others should lose at some part of the game. Okay? The nature of this game is in a way that it only has one winner, but maybe it starts with 6 or 7 children running around 5 or 6 chairs, but only at the end of the day, only one person will be the winner. So the person who cannot tolerate that losing that game and then keeps fighting, throwing the chair, cheating in the game, crying after losing the game, or any failure is related to low self-esteem, and it's some of examples of the side effects of bad self-esteem. So, or poor self-esteem. So now you know about them, and we are gonna jump into the next thing. So at this phase, I'm going to share 7 advice that can help the children boost their self-esteem. And number one is that the parents, caregivers, teachers, therapists should practice active listening. Okay? And that active listening by Jacob Morgan, for example, is a theory in which is mentioning that any active listening has 5 elements. You need to show you are listening with your body language. You need to try to understand what others are talking about. You need to stop interruption. You need to look them in the eyes, and you need to stop judgment. And it is about build or active listening. So for most of the time when a child starts to talk about his day, I, as a parent, might feel tempted to correct him or ask him to say, for example, next time don't do that. That thing is impolite. Why did you do so? Instead of this, next time do this. Okay? These interruptive behavior, these interruption might lower the quality time between you and your child. Also, um, it's a sign that you are not an active listener to the fullest, and you need more practice on that. So it's about um, how you can radiate the sense of respect and self-love and self-value to the child. That yes, as a person, you are talking, and you are talking in so valuable way that I enjoy listening to you without interrupting it. Next thing that can boost self-esteem, and it's one of the most common advice that I provide or suggest to recommend in a daily basis of my consultation with the parents or caregivers, is about unconditioned positive attention. Uh, so the person who is looking at you right now is Dr. Carl Rogers. Um, He was an American psychologist that was the founder of humanistic psychology. And in humanistic approach of psychology, it was a technique that, it was an approach that um, was emphasizing on the importance of self-esteem and how we can improve it based on the history of living as a child. We have lots of memories that we have been appreciated or acknowledged or confirmed because of doing something. So once we are appreciated because of doing something, in fact, that appreciation strongly is associated with some behavior that we have done. And because of that behavior, that action, we have felt some conditioned love, some conditioned positive attention. So once we learn that the value of ourselves is not related to what we do, but it's related to the way we exist, not about what we exactly do or perform. So it's about unconditioned positive attention. And one of the very common advices that I ask families to provide 10 or 12 or 15 times of 30-second being initiative to show positive attention to the child when the child has not done a good or bad thing. When a child is solely watching a TV or doing something completely neutral or playing with himself or just walking around without doing any good thing, we need to go cuddle, hug, kiss, saying some nice word about, I very love you and I am so proud to have you. Not because you are smart, not because you did your homework, not because you have combed your hair, not because you are good looking, okay? Not because you talk in a funny way. No, I love you because I love you. And that's the signal that you can keep sending to your child 15 times a day. And it's a very important thing that you keep that pace every day. No matter if you are in a bad mood or good mood, you need to be mindfully providing that unconditioned positive attention on an everyday basis to a child to boost self-esteem to the full. And it's a very, very working advice, even though it seems very simple or easy, but it is a very, very working advice. So give it a try if you want to see its result, at least 2 weeks in a row, and then you will you will face the kind of miracle about that. So next thing is about designated quality time alongside with affirmation, kind of father and son time, mother and girl, father and son, mother and son. So um, it's about quality time, the way any two partner, not necessarily couples, in a father and son, that partner of father, a man and a boy, okay, that are bonded with each other and they are partnering the time of quality time with each other. So I remember that when I was a child, I enjoyed my maximum joy was accompanying my father to go to mountains. And climbing the mountain, lying with my father, going to the hill and moving. And he used to show me the gazelles and also lots of other animals between the rocks. and I was listening to the stories about it anymore, and I got to learn many things about nature, and I loved coordinating the pace of my steps with him. And I was feeling that I was putting my foot on his footstep, and I was following him, and he occasionally turned back and looked at me and confirmed me and affirmed me by shaking head and a smile on lip. And then let's continue. Let's go. And then that thing that might seem like kind of give a hand five or handshake or a kind of simple cuddling or a back rub or a deep eye contact or having some fun experiment with each other, being some, um, trying some silly moments with each other. Uh, so it, they are about designated quality time in which when two persons are about to pay attention to each other, they might use a journey in which they get closer to each other. So you can think about that. Most of the time, parents, mother, father might postpone these things to a better time. For example, they might say that now my child is at school, then he has to come back from school and he has to get ready quickly, and we don't have enough time to cuddle and hug and kiss and thing. She should just get ready to go to clinic. Once he come back, I have some work. Maybe next week we can go to park together. But actually, the fact is that self-esteem doesn't wait for you. Self-esteem is at risk of being ruined by any single incident of a day, any single experience of being bullied. And you as a parent are in a role to understand its necessity, the necessity of designated quality time with your child, and you should work on that. Next thing is about give more time. Give more time. When your child is talking, if he is not finding the right word, patiently establish eye contact. Give more time. You are not a rush. If your child is helping you to make a salad with you, or bake a cake with you, or put the clothes on the laundry basket, for sure that person might not be as skilled as you, and the process or the procedure of doing this might not be that quality at all, or even you have to do all of them from square one, or you have to start from scratch. I know that sometimes it's very hard to stay patient and wait for the playfulness of the child when interacting and working and things. But in fact, once you wait for a longer span of time, you are adding up to the credit of the relationship between you and your child. But if you want to do the things on by your own, in fact, you are ruining the credit and are utilizing the credit between you and him. So you will grab it. You will take it for yourself just for the sake of some immediate reaction, immediate quality work, immediate product, to stay on time, to do the things on a perfect way, in a perfect way. But in fact, your child has felt that, might feel that, okay, I made a mess. I was not that good at that. I was too slow, and my mom had to interject and fix it somehow. So give more time. Next thing is that it's very hard not to provide constructive feedback to children. And sometimes we feel that, specifically when working with children with special needs, it's very hard not to utilize every single window of time of interaction with the children over successful attempt, over utilization of providing some feedback to make it more perfect, to fix the thing all at once. So in the meantime that the child is holding a pen in an awkward way in the hand and is trying to write something, and in the meantime the spelling is not accurate, and he has sat on a very bad and poor posture on the table at the table, and he is holding this in a wrong way, and he is writing in a very illegible way. Yes, you can see all of these things at once, but you only are allowed to spend time with him and maximum one constructive feedback at time. Just for example, you can say, Mom, please, no, hey, please sit correctly, or that's it, or could you please sit so, or or can you please hold this? But not hold this correctly, sit correctly, look at this, pay attention to me, spelling is correct or not correct. Those frequent constructive feedback are very, very overwhelming to children. And instead of counting the number of failure or mistakes, for example, in dictation, or kind of spelling task, that if you are going to ask your child or test your child about if the child is able to write 20 words with correct spelling or based on dictation, and then uh, instead of instead of counting the number of mistakes, count the number of successful and correct answers. Draw a circle around correct answer and said, okay, you did 5 out of 20 correct answers. Let's see if you can improve it to 6 out of 20 or 7 out of 20, instead of saying that 15 out of 20 mistakes. We need to fix this. 15 is too much. We need to make it as less as 1 or 2 maximum. So it's about the shift of attention from the empty half of the glass to the full half of glass. And the next thing is about moral stories, that plenty of self-esteem activity book exists in market, that you can read them, first, and then put yourself in the shoes of your child, or run a self-reflection for yourself, that when you were a child, had anybody behaved or told you such stories? Have you been put as a character of these stories when you were a child? Just imagine that you are a child now. Did you want to be behaved based on the thing that illustrated in such books, or you preferred to be behaved in by or be treated by a perfectionist mom who didn't forgive any single mistake or couldn't let it go at all? Yes, it's about self-esteem, and plenty of books that could be the source of self-reflection might open up the window to your childhood memory and might help you get to know your inner child first, and then establish a better rapport with your child once you know the inner child. So the most successful way of parenting is inside out. Once you realize your limitations as a parent because of the experiences you have had as a child earlier, and once you can love yourself the way you have lived, then you are ready to radiate or send that love to your child as well. So, number 7 slide, which is the last one before Q&A, is about respectful mannerism when communicating with a child. It's very important. For many times, I have seen that, for example, a mom or dad in front of a group of other people might yell, "Hey, come. Do you want to go to washroom?" in front of others. Do you have pee? Loud, loud talking with the child in front of others. So it should be talked in a very discreet way, and we should take permission if we want to touch the toys of the child, because they are the personal belongings of the child. They are the personal properties of the child. Do you allow me to tidy up your toys? Can I come to your room? When are you ready to go out? Which dress or clothes you prefer to have today? Which, not what. So you give it 2 or 3 options, you say which, not what. Or any way of respectful mannerism by active listening, maintaining eye contact, nodding head, asking some follow-up question to show that you are interested in the conversation, saying thank you when the child is doing something correct, being truthful to the child, and smile on the face, and having a positive attitude about the child. Or, and just a kind of simple example is that if we assume that the child that we are taking care of is the child of our neighbor who has asked us to take care of him for 3 days. 3 days, no, the neighbors have gone to a kind of trip, and they couldn't take their child with themselves, and they have asked you to take care of their child for 3 days, and you are about to behave in a responsible way, fulfill all the parenting behaviors to the child, but how much respect you will show when interacting with a child that is not yours and it is your neighbor's one. So if you feel that you are showing the similar level of respect to your own child, if yes, it means that you have taken number 7 advice very seriously. Otherwise, you need a kind of self-reflection about this part. So I have done it, and the workshop at the moment is almost done. The only thing that I want to mention is that for me as an occupational therapist, talking about self-esteem, because of the nature of this topic, which is mostly related to psychological approaches, and however, since I'm an experienced occupational therapist that have worked with children and have witnessed lots of signs of self-esteem among the parents, or the dynamics of relationship or interrelationship between the parents, couples, and also the children, I just felt that maybe sharing some hint or points about self-esteem could be helpful. However, I myself strongly recommend you to seek for expert opinion from a psychologist, psychotherapist, or counselor. If those simple advice are not fully fixing or resolving the problem, for sure, seeking expert opinion from people who have studied and who have more relevant background than speaking or talking or finding solution for self-esteem is a very wise idea. So thank you very much for spending time, for Thursday evening time with me and having time with me. And now is the time for Q&A. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. Now I'm going to stop recording and then feel free start if you have any question, I'm ready to answer. Thank you.